8 steps to develop a SaaS product from scratch. The SaaS business model is a very attractive one, and it's one that's got a relatively low barrier to entry. And that's why so many people are looking at developing SaaS businesses. And in this video, I want to run through 8 steps to develop a SaaS business from scratch, and some of the pitfalls and things you should avoid. I'm Matt Grace, Managing Director at Flying Donkey. Let's get into it. Alright, before I jump into how to build a SaaS product from scratch, let's have a quick look at why the SaaS model has been so successful. It's so successful from a couple of reasons. Firstly, there's no installation on the user side. They simply sign up to a website and they can get straight into it. You've got to remember that 10 or 15 years ago, the infrastructure required for a business or a user to run a piece of software was quite big. They needed certain computers and servers and maintenance ongoing that's now been taken away by the SaaS model. Secondly is flexibility. SaaS products operate on a recurring business model. Previously, you used to have to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars to acquire a piece of software, where this has now come down to $50 to $100 per month. This means it's a lot more cost effective and spread out for businesses to acquire these SaaS products. 3. Maintenance and updates. In a SaaS product model, the vendor is responsible for updating and maintaining the SaaS product. This is taking the burden off the business or the end user, which used to have to do these updates themselves. This means that the SaaS person is taking on some of the responsibility of the product that previously fell to the business. This makes it very attractive for businesses who need to comply with certain regulations because they're simply outsourced in one package to the SaaS provider. And finally, as a business who's building the SaaS product, the positives for you are that you're building a sustainable, scalable, and recurring revenue business. SaaS models generally operate on a hockey stick curve, which means they become additive over time. If you get $5,000 in revenue this year, if you add $5,000 in revenue next year, you're most likely going to retain all of your existing clients. Well, that means you'll have $10,000 in revenue. This continues in such a manner that it becomes very exponential. At the same time, the cost to service clients is very minimal because it's all done in IT and hardware. It's why Apple, Facebook, and Google, all these companies who run SaaS products, have extreme multiples on the stock market, and it's because they have an extremely well recurring and scalable model. All right, enough about why SaaS is so good. Let's get into the 8 steps to build a SaaS model from scratch. All right, step 1, start with a real world problem. It's really important that the idea you come up with if you're a SaaS product is a real world problem. At the same time, it can't only just be a real world problem, it's got to be one that is value for your clients. That is, it's a problem that your clients are actually going to pay you money for to solve. An example I use here is AI. AI is really great as a technology, but generally speaking what it does is it works over a large set of data and produces a set of graphs. Now I've asked a number of my clients to take these graphs to their clients and said, would you pay extra money for these graphs? Inevitably, the answer is no, and while these graphs are very pretty and they look good, they don't actually bring value to those businesses. And this is really an example I want to use to illustrate what you need to do for your SaaS product. You need to make sure that not only the idea is a good one, but people actually pay you money for. Now there's various research and groups you can go through and ask people if they're going to do it, but the best way to make sure people are going to pay you money is to put a product in front of them and ask you to pay for money. And this leads me on to my next point. Step 2 is building a prototype. At this point you've got an idea and you think it's going to be a market fit, you think people are going to have value, so you want to build a prototype. A prototype is simply a set of screens that have been drawn up and linked together to look like the end product. The idea of a prototype is it can visually show your clients, users or investors what your product is going to do. A prototype is really simple, quick and easy, and it's a really visual way of showing your users what you're going to build in your product. Let's start with the investor angle first. When you're trying to raise money to develop a successful startup, investors are going to want to know what the product is going to solve and how it's going to work. A prototype does this really well. It very easily illustrates to those investors, this is exactly what it's going to do and this is how it's going to work. From there, they should be able to see the value in your proposition and potentially invest in your product. While at the same time, you can take that prototype out and show that to prospective clients or focus groups and say, this is what you've requested that you want and that you would pay money for. Here it is in a prototype. Would you still pay money for this? Getting this in front of people and playing it back to them is a really powerful tool to make sure you're on the right path before you start writing any code. Code will generally take up to 10 to 15 times longer than a prototype to build, and obviously there's significant testing that needs to go into it. So if you can cut any corners here and shave off any features that you don't need, this is a really critical step to make sure that your SaaS product is built in the best way possible. All right, steps 3 and 4 are really joined together, but it's around planning your business and planning your action plan to get this prototype into market. So the first step is really about taking that prototype and working out how the development resources are going to build it. If you've got a prototype, you should be able to break it down into agile sprints and put user stories together that allows you to build out that product. Splitting the prototype up can easily show developers exactly what you want to build, and you should have a clean, crisp UI that's already been built into the prototype they can then copy and use in the designs. While at the same time, you've got to make sure that your sales and marketing plan is going forward. You can start taking some of these prototypes or images and working that into your sales and marketing collateral and start getting some of the copy up around what your product is going to do. These two steps should work hand in hand to make sure that you're delivering a product that is also going to sell. You want to make sure that your sales and marketing collateral are ready and raring to go once your product is ready to hit the market. Putting both these plans together at the same time is a great idea, particularly when you're launching. There's going to be a lot going on, but you've got to make sure that you have both sides covered, because what you don't want to do is build a product and have no sales and marketing. Or on the other side, you don't want to do all the sales and marketing and have no product. All right, step 5, develop a monetization strategy. On my blog, I run through all different pricing models for SaaS products. But inherently, the pricing model is going to be a recurring model based on the value that you give to your clients. The key thing to remember here on developing the right pricing model is to make sure that the lifetime value of your client is more than the cost to acquire the client. That can be extracted in multiple different ways, whether that's a usage-based payment or just a recurring payment on month. The key thing you have to make sure is that the SaaS product that you're building delivers enough value to charge enough money to be above the cost to acquire clients. If you simply aren't delivering enough value, then users won't pay you enough for it. Therefore, your business won't have the cash flow to support not only the development, but also the sales and marketing, as well as the other operational costs that go into it. And this really comes back to delivering enough value that you will find out on when you define your monetary. What you want to do next is identify the features and functionality that your users are after and start delivering that to them. Here is really where you want to build that feedback loop, and I talk about this in a number of videos. You want to get these features out in front of paying customers and really ask them how they're doing. You want to ask them what else they need in the product or what else they need to change. And at the same time, when you're asking about these features, you really got to see what these users are valuing in them to make sure that you can potentially charge more for them or charge differently for them, or what you can bring that is of value to them. Bringing this feedback loop in becomes pivotal to the success of your SaaS product. If you can get ideas and features from your users, bring them in-house, build them, and then deliver them back, your users will feel like they're being heard and appreciated, while at the same time they're giving you the direction that you need to move your SaaS products forward. The alternate approach to this is obviously to build the ideas yourself in-house. The risk is that while you may know the initial problem, as the business grows, you may put a feature in that actually is of no value to the end user. While at the same time, I've also seen some end users ask and request features that are actually really simple to implement and actually of huge value to them. And this is where making sure that customers are paying you for your software and giving you the feedback is going to be that critical support loop that you really want to build up. All right, 8th and final point is you've now got the SaaS product in market, you've got users on it, and now what you need to do is continually develop it and support it into the future. At this point, you really want to either build up your internal team or start bringing in external teams to start supporting some of your internal teams. Here at Flying Donkey, we do that on a regular basis, where we go into businesses with existing products and help them accelerate some of their roadmaps. Some of the businesses we go into have that really good feedback loop from their clients, and they have so many features coming in, they simply can't keep up. Because these features are added to their product, they're giving value to all of their clients, and therefore they're building a stronger business for them. Getting that team in who can deliver and develop for your SaaS product is going to be pivotal to the ongoing success of the product. And while you're the owner of the business and the owner of the SaaS product itself, you want to make sure that it keeps evolving and changing as the world changes. That means both languages get updated, security changes and compliance, as well as new and exciting features that will come out. You've got to remember that your competitors will be moving forward, so the idea is that you need to keep that feedback loop in place and keep developing those features and functionality. All right, so building a SaaS product from scratch is very achievable and can be done very straightforward ways. I've given a handful of tips here that will help you build your SaaS product from scratch, which takes it from idea to prototype, to business plan and development, all the way through to the end product. The key thing is to make sure you're actually building something that's of value and that you're building that feedback loop in the end. At the end of the day, if you're building any business and you're giving value to your clients and they're able to then pay you money for that value, you potentially will have a successful business. Here at Flying Donkey, we help many clients build their SaaS products. And if you're trying to get a SaaS product off the ground, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to help.